Heyo everybody, Haku here with a One Piece discussion that honestly I really don't know how to make an intro to. So what we're going to be doing here, we're going to be talking about a lot of things, mostly about Wano, a ton about Carrot. We're going to be talking a lot about Carrot, so I guess Carrot fans, if you're still on the copium train, hang in there. We're going to be talking about Yamato, mostly I think just a lot about Wano in general. So to preface this, I did weekly One Piece videos, reactions, reviews, theories and discussions, all kinds of stuff, from January of 2016, all the, like, chapter, 812, 815, something like that, all the way until chapter 1043, maybe, somewhere around there. And then when, okay, so I guess preface it here, if you're an anime only, maybe the video's not for you. We're going to be talking about manga stuff. And also, the scans of 1060 just came out, but I'm not going to talk about anything from 1060 until the end of the video, and I'll give you a warning before I do. So if you're the type of person who waits around for the official release and have not read the scans, don't worry, I won't spoil anything from 1060. So yeah, I think it was like 1042 or something when I stopped covering One Piece week to week, because all throughout Wano I'm like, wow, this shit is some mid. And it was frustrating. It was hard to read at a lot of places. But I think at the point around like 1043, 1044 is where I just couldn't take it anymore. And I was like, I can't talk about this because I'm just going to be negative every single week. And I don't want to cover a series. I don't want to talk about a series if I'm just going to sit around and be negative about it. And so that's when I stopped talking about it. And I just figured, I had a bunch of people watching like my Beastars videos, watching my Tower of God videos, but you know, my One Piece videos never really caught on, built an audience, I felt like, anyway. So I was like, nobody really cares to see me sit and be negative. Nobody cares about my thoughts, but I just got to the point where I've spent over a decade reading and watching this series. I genuinely have spent so much time loving One Piece, buying so much merch, all this stuff, that I'm not... We're going to be talking about Carrot a lot, but I don't think I'm on a Carrot copium train. I'm on an Oda copium train where I just don't want to believe that he's this bad of a writer. And I'm going to be talking about a lot of things that I hated about Wano here. And when I do, I'm also going to be playing devil's advocate against myself. I'm going to be like, okay, I thought that this sucked about Wano, but you know what? Maybe Oda's going somewhere with it. Maybe he's going here with it, or like some things it's like, okay, it's bad, but it's not that big of a deal. I think the reason I'm going to be talking a lot about Carrot is I feel like Carrot's ending at the end of Wano is the most egregious thing. That is like, I can't really see a good way that Oda's going with it unless I'm proven wrong within the next couple chapters, and hopefully I am. Any of these points, like I said, I'm going to be playing devil's advocate or advocate against myself. Any of these points, I would love to be proven wrong. I would love to. Because I just don't want to believe that the same Oda who wrote pre-time skip One Piece that's like beyond perfection to me, or even post-time skip but pre-Wano up through Whole Cake Island, which, you know, I didn't think was as perfect as pre-time skip One Piece, but was still good. It was still One Piece. I don't want to believe that he could write something as bad as Wano, to waste 4 years of our lives, 4 years of his own life, 4 years of One Piece on just Wano. So I don't know exactly how I'm going to structure this. There's probably a lot of points that I want to make that I'm going to end up forgetting about or leaving out, just because I wanted to do this in the way that I did a recent Tower of God video, where I am just talking off the top of my head, talking from my heart, giving my actual, just full-on, unfiltered thoughts about what's going on. And I feel like I need to build up to the Carrot discussion by talking about Wano first, going like, kind of building to that, with all of the Wano issues that I have. Because Wano for me is like a negative 2 out of 10 arc. It's awful. It's terrible. I would rate it either the worst or among the worst shonen arcs I've ever read. I can't say it's exactly the worst because it's like Naruto's Final War arc is up there. The Promised Neverland had like 1 or 2 really bad arcs. So it's like, okay, it might not be the worst, but it's at least a contender. I think there's at least some arguments as to why Wano would be the worst shonen arc that I've ever read. Because to me, it's not just that it's not good, and it's not just that it's bad, it's completely incompetent in a lot of ways. It's just not even properly written in like a normal story structure whatsoever in some parts. And again, I'll get to that. And to me, what makes it so bad, why I said it's like a negative 2 out of 10 arc, is because it spills outside of Wano. It takes things that I loved earlier in the series, and now that they're recontextualized after Wano, I'm like, they kind of ruined some earlier moments in the series by Wano being so bad. And also the fact that, like, if Wano was bad, if it was just, hey, everybody has a trash arc, everybody's human, if Wano was bad, but it lasted like a couple months, it's like, okay, that's one thing, but like, no other mangaka would get to write 4 years of trash and just have people still eat it up, have people just go for that. So yeah, let's start at the beginning of Wano and have a little bit of a deeper discussion. Because again, like I said, I want to argue against myself. I don't want to just sit here and be like, oh, One Piece is awful, One Piece is trash. I want to actually give some reasoning. So I think the thing that I always said for years and years, because of course we've been sitting through Wano for years and years, my problem with like the first 2 acts really are that we got into this habit, Oda got into this habit of chapters just being characters running around telling us what happened off screen, and then we cut to another character running around telling us what happened off screen, then we cut to another character telling us what happened off screen, and we never see any of these events. And I'm like, if you're wasting chapters upon chapters giving us panels of characters summarizing things, yeah, like that's basically it, giving us chapters full of pages and pages of characters summarizing things that happen off screen, why not just show us those things on screen? Like, I feel like Wano could have had the same amount of content and been written in like 1/4 of the time. There's just so much bloat there. So I think that was my issue that I kept bringing up, that I was like, we never get to see anything in Wano. Wano is just cutting to characters running from one place to another again and again and again, telling us what happened, but not showing us what happened. And that was such a large portion of the first 2 acts of mainland Wano that it was frustrating. And also, again, like I said about bloat, this is something I've definitely thought more recently, like during the Onigashima stuff, I was thinking about a lot of this, where I was like, imagine if back in Alabasta, we spent time getting like the full backstories and genealogies of like Chaka and Igaram's wife, and every just random arc character we met, we get their like full background and genealogy. That's what Wano was. I was like, there was so much that we just really did not need, and I would hope it comes into play, but it didn't come into play. And like, there's some stuff, jumping ahead a little bit, that people complain about for the end of Wano, like, that I'm going to argue, okay, I don't think that's good, but I'm not going to say, oh, Wano's trash because of that yet, because, like, we got people jumping the gun on the, stuff with Yamato in 1057, I believe it is, and then everybody jumps the gun. They're like, wow, that was such a crap ending for Yamato. And then we get an explanation, like we get 1058, which no Yamato whatsoever, we're getting new bounties, we're getting cross-guild stuff, so it's like, people were right to believe, okay, yeah, I guess that's it for Yamato, what a weird ending. But then another 1059, 2 chapters later, we finally get a flashback that really explains it really well, I think, and it's like, okay then, never mind, that's fine. And again, I'll talk a lot more about Yamato when we get there, but I actually think that 1059 is maybe Yamato's best chapter, because it's some of Yamato's only character development, really. So, you know, I'll get into that. But talking more about mainland Wano, yeah, there's just a bunch of stuff that didn't matter, or like stuff that I don't want to jump ahead on, like everybody's like, why didn't Zoro visit Ryuma's grave again and again? But here's the thing, like, we could have Zoro get into a fight in the next arc and then we flash back to him visiting Ryuma's grave, so we didn't see it now, but I'm like going to withhold judgment, because I'm like, we could always just see that in the future. I guess we'll then go and I'll start talking about Onigashima a bit. I thought, and the Oden flashback I liked. I'm not as huge into Oden as a character as a lot of people seem to be, and then I've seen actually a lot of people hate Oden and think he's super annoying and super overhyped. I don't hate him, but I do think he's overhyped, and I'm not that big a fan. But I thought the Odin flashback chapters were really good. And then we get into Onigashima, we get into the raid, and the beginning of the raid is so good. All the problems that I was having with early Wano, I'm like, oh wow, this is not really so much a problem anymore. This is really, really good. And then we get like, I don't know, 10, 20 chapters in, and we start getting into the same exact problem as mainland Wano. For some weird reason, we just start cutting around to characters running through the castle explaining what happened off screen again and again. And I'm like, why? Why are we doing this? Just show it. Just show what happened. Why? Why do we need to jump from character to character summarizing what happened instead of just showing it? We could have spent the same amount of page time, the same amount of panel time. We had chapter upon chapter upon chapter of Momonosuke pulling on clouds, or this person running from here to here, and it's like, we could, again, like I said, Wano could have been written with the same amount of content in like 1/4 the time. There's just so much wasted time. And I guess that'll bring up where my big point when I said that Wano isn't even competent writing in some places, the place where it's not even competent, something that's pretty basic, I would think, in telling a story is you build up a character and then have a payoff. So in terms of character deaths, you would build up, have a good death, and that could be the payoff. Or you don't need to kill a character. But there are characters in Wano who, I mean, like Kiku and Kinemon, who I get, like, if Oda wants to make them survive, like, it's totally fine if Oda doesn't feel like killing off characters, because that's just kind of the way One Piece is a lot. The Will of P is a pain in the ass a lot of the time. But again, if Oda just wants it to be a more lighthearted story where characters just don't get killed off very often, that's fine. But we build to these really, really, really good deaths with Kiku and Kinemon, and then just forget all about them. And then other characters with no proper build-up just die seemingly at random. Like Izo's the biggest one, dies from like a finger pistol, and it's like, really? Izo died from that? And nobody seems to care. We get like a short grave scene or anything, but for the most part, Marco, who went on this big like part of the war to save Ace as a crewmate and everything, and you know, Kiku being the sister to Izo, just they didn't seem to care that much. We really didn't get much there. And I guess like a lot of people hate the post-Wano stuff, and that's a problem there, but it just seems so random. It just seems like it's not even competent to just be like, well, I'll just kill these characters for no reason, who cares? And I don't think the Ashura death was that bad, because I didn't care about Ashura, and I think it's a perfectly fine way to pay off the character, but it's weird to like only have Ashura die, and to die like that, but not have other characters. It's just very weird writing. Another issue that I had with the raid, the fights weren't bad necessarily, but Kaido's crew was extremely underwhelming. They were like Hody's Job Squad version 2. They were pathetic. Like, you look at Katakuri in the build-up that Luffy had, and how much it took Luffy to be like, okay, he beat Cracker, but he needed Nami's help using the rain to soften his armor and everything. And then for him to beat a Yonko commander on his own for the first time, it took a lot. Luffy had to go through a lot to be able to beat Katakuri. And then Katakuri's apparently been nerfed, because like in the cover story or whatever, it's like, why wasn't Caesar just kicking his ass apparently during the like Whole Cake arc? But then we get to like King and Queen, who I actually like, and I like the King and Queen and Zoro and Sanji fights. But at the same time, it's like, they just like are like, okay, guess we'll defeat we'll defeat Yonko commanders now. And it's like, Luffy, what were you doing struggling so hard against Katakuri? Because Zoro and Sanji are just like, well, whatever, guess we'll just defeat them now. But the Tobiropo all had such cool designs. They had such incredibly good designs, and boy, were they a disappointment. Except for Ulti. Ulti's like the one good member. X-Drake flipped sides. He was never really loyal, so I guess I shouldn't count him here. But Ulti was incredibly cool. She actually had a cool personality, and I feel like a lot of the Tobiropo had possibilities for that. But also, Ulti, like, clashes with Luffy, is fine, takes a blunderbagua from Yamato, gets right back up and is insulting it. takes a freaking attack from Nami and Maser Cannon from Big Mama Yonko and gets back up and keeps fighting again until finally being taken down good or for good by Nami. Like, Ulti was actually what I would expect from a Tobiropo, what I think would be like properly strong for a Tobiropo, and compared to that, who's who is like, he got destroyed. We have Sasaki, who Frankie, like, sure, he had to like do the play of like jumping out of the like Frankie Shogun and having it take the hit, but like Frankie basically defeats him and then just shrugs and walks away like, well, that was that, I guess. The Robin and Black Maria fight's actually good. It's so amazing to actually finally see a Robin fight. But again, compared to like Ulti or compared to like, you know, what Black Maria possibly could have been, not that impressive. Page 1 just gets completely embarrassed. Poor Page 1. The Big Mom stuff is a little bit weird. I don't really mind it. Luffy Long Kid all getting the same bounty is kind of questionable. One thing we need to talk about, okay, we'll start talking about the Nika stuff now, because I think that's like really the thing that made me quit covering this week to week, because I was like, I'm just going to be negative every week. I thought the Nika stuff was awful because it like ruins a lot of Luffy's past development, where I'm just sort of like, okay, so I guess like all this stuff, I've been cheering for Luffy. I've been like, this guy, he's got the silly like Gomu Gomu no Mi. He's fighting so hard trying to do all of this stuff. I want to see him become King of the Pirate. I'm like cheering him on the whole way through the story. And then it's like, well, he technically has a god fruit and has from the beginning, and the fruit kind of has a mind of its own. And I just feel like that takes so much agency. And we know that fruits also kind of affect the personality of the wielder in a way. Or at least, no, sorry, I'm stupid. I was thinking of quirks in My Hero Academia affect the personality of the wielder. Strike that. But yeah, it's like, so the devil fruit kind of has a mind of its own and everything. And so it's like, I don't know. It kind of takes some agency away from Luffy, and I really, really don't like that. I feel like it lessens previous moments in the series because of that. And also, it just makes the world government seem like the biggest jokes in the world, completely impotent. And so many things make them seem like that. This whole, like, Gomu Gomu no Mi, Nika God Fruit stuff just makes them seem like the biggest idiots in the world. Then we get the Buggy Yonko stuff, which is a funny gag. I think it actually makes sense because of how it was explained. But it still just makes the world government look like complete idiots. Like, they're complete dunces. And then we get the stuff with Greenbull at the end, and it's like, wow, what a bunch of idiots. They're completely powerless. They're like, why should I fear the world government? They're, like, awful. They're trash. I just don't like, it kind of ruins them a lot for me, where I'm like, the Gorosei are just these absolute jokes now. So yeah, that's an issue. But here's the thing, again, to play devil's advocate against myself, I think that's awful. I think that's series-ruiningly bad. I think that's almost as bad as like the Naruto reincarnation stuff, kind of bad. But I will withhold a little bit of judgment and say, you know, maybe Oda's going somewhere, because we don't know what devil fruits even are yet. We don't really know what awakening even truly is yet. Like, we know kind of the effects, but we don't really know like what the process is. We don't know where they come from. We don't know how they originated. We don't know if, I've seen theories that like every devil fruit is like a mythical Zoan, basically. That like boas could easily just be a Medusa fruit, and they could all just somehow be mythical fruits. So again, maybe Oda's going somewhere with it, and you know, that's fine. And one thing that I always hated about the Nika stuff too is when Kaido's like, rubber shouldn't behave that way. And I hate that. I hate that. Kaido, you stupid, you dense motherfucker, Kaido. You have a guy on your crew with the straw fruit who can substitute other people's lives for his own and do what is seemingly a Zoan transformation, transforming into a big straw man. Like, why would you be like, the rubber fruit shouldn't work that way? Do you know how dinosaurs hunted in the ancient past, Kaido? I would like to ask you that. Like, it's so stupid. The logic is baffling. I also really don't like it being a Zoan fruit, because it's like, you could have, and like the Gear 5 transformation, you could have just been like, this is what the Sun God Nika or Joy Boy had in the past, but it's still just the Gomu Gomu no Mi, Paramecia, because Gear 5, the Awakening, still just sort of acts like what you would think a awakening of the Gomu Gomu no Mi could just be. So again, I feel like time heals all wounds. There are ways that Oda could be going with it. I think it's really, really bad, but it doesn't have to be really, really bad. I could totally be proven wrong, and I am very willing and open to being proven wrong on that. I don't like it as it is now, but I can see ways where it could be fine. So yeah, there's a lot that I don't like about it, and I hate that. Here's the thing. You can like and dislike stuff without having to lie for it. You can be like, okay, you know what? Like with the carrot stuff is going to be something I talk about a lot. You can dislike carrot without having to lie to dislike carrot. But I'll get into that. And in the same way, you can like the Nika stuff without having to lie, without having to be like, whoa, this was set up from the time we had the what is it? The Mont Blanc Nolan flashback. Where they were talking about the 4 gods or whatever, and it's like, that is clearly in reference to the snake thing. When they talk about their god and everything like that, that is clearly not in reference to this. And like, Oda could have looked at that in the past and been like, oh, that's good, I need something to connect this to, we can do that. But I refuse to believe that this was planned from back then in that way. The only concrete hint we had about the Sun God Nika stuff was less than 30 chapters before its reveal, when we have the Who's Who stuff. And like, sure, there's like the panel of Luffy jumping in a similar manner to the way that was drawn way back in Skypiea, but again, that could just be something that Oda looked at and went, hey, you know, it works, we can connect it to that maybe. But yeah, this was not something that was like repeatedly referenced throughout the entirety of the series. This was just something that Asspull-Asspull no Mead out of nowhere within less than 30 chapters of the concept being introduced. So, you know, that was bad. I feel like I want to talk about the Carrot and Yamato stuff. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I'm forgetting to talk about. There's probably so much. There's probably a ton that I'm forgetting to talk about here, but I don't know. I guess I'll talk about Yamato next. So here's the thing. When Yamato first showed up, I wanted to love Yamato as a character. I truly did. And going back, there are some things like I recently saw some scenes of the Yamato flashback that we had so far, the one with Ace in the anime, and it looks gorgeous. It looks so good. And I just think about Yamato. I'm like, okay, and I guess to get this out of the way, I guess I'm going to use he for Yamato here in reference to pronouns. I might slip and say she, but here's the thing. I think I can be open to talking about sort of, you know, divisive topics here, so I'm going to talk about that topic really quick and what I think. So when Yamato was first introduced, I was like, if you want to use either he or she pronouns for Yamato, doesn't really matter, because the thing is, all of the info boxes, all of the data cards were saying that Yamato was Kaido's daughter, that Yamato was female, but Yamato was saying he, and saying, I'm a man because Odin is a man. So me, I'm like, okay, Yamato's only saying I'm a man because Odin's a man. It's not because Yamato thinks that about Yamato. It's only because Yamato thinks that about Odin. And I, like many people, was like, eventually this is going to be about identity, and Yamato's going to have to say, I'm not Odin, I'm Yamato. Yamato's going to have to drop going to a child and being like, hey, your murdered father, yeah, I'm him. Isn't it so funny? Isn't that quirky? Yamato's going to have to drop that and become Yamato eventually. And boy, was I wrong, because no, Yamato stayed Odin. So because Yamato stayed Odin, it's pretty clear that Yamato is just he. Because Yamato is just Odin, and that's it. That's the character. Yamato thinks they're Odin, down to gender identity, and that's it. And that's fine. Not what I expected. So that's what I'm sticking with now, but again, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't want transphobes to come and be like, oh, you're my friend. I'm not your friend, buddy. I'm not your buddy, pal. But at the same time, I'm not going to be like, oh, cancel anybody who says she about Yamato, because at the same time, Kiku is a great example, an amazing example of including a trans character and having that trans character be respected and written well. Yamato only wants to be a man because of the Odin thing, and that's really shallow, and I'm not a fan of that. I'll be honest. Like, I'm super pro trans, but at the same time, I'm not a fan of the way the Yamato Odin stuff is handled, TBH. Not a huge fan of that. So just to get that out of the way before talking more about the actual character or lack thereof, what I was saying is I wanted to love this character. From the outside looking in, the design is there. The devil fruit is cool, guardian deity of Wano, by the way. So that was always going to be an important plot point, I think. People, again, it's like you can like or not like something. You can want Yamato for Straw Hat, but not have to lie to get there and be like, oh, well, that's not important. No, the guardian deity of Wano stuff is going to be important. And it was important in the end. But, yeah, I just... What I'm trying to get here is so much about the Yamato stuff from the outside looking in is really good looking, but it's only skin deep. You get beneath, wow, the character design's cool. You get beneath the idea for the flashback with Ace looks good, but there's no substance there. There's no attachment to the rest of the Straw Hats. Yamato holds off Kaido at one point and then just runs around with Momonosuke. Yamato does not do much in terms of the story. Yamato is treated as a potential Straw Hat and almost given a Vivi treatment at the end of the arc, despite contributing like a poly amount. That's not really fair to say. More like contributing like what is it? Lady, was her name Kokoro? The mermaid lady in Enies Lobby and Water 7, Kokoro Bachan. I think that, yeah, like she contributes that much. Like she sort of saves the day by, I'm so sorry, by holding off Kaido for a bit. But I don't know. I feel like we could have had Kaido be busy any other way. I mean, before Yamato holds off Kaido, Kaido's just running around hitting people impotently and having no body count. The random CP0 guy, I guess, is the only guy on his body count, if he even did die. Yeah, Kaido looked pretty impotent here in a lot of ways. I guess I should talk about Kaido's character after this before I get into the character stuff, or the carrot stuff, I mean. I do think the way that Yamato's character ended is the best way to go, because it's the only development that the character has had, really. So, like, Yamato ran around with Momonosuke, didn't do much of anything, decided to stay on Wano, got a good buy alongside Momonosuke and Kinemon, who have had a lot of development and have been with the Straw Hats for years. And I'm like, why? Is it just because the character was popular? Because, again, Yamato didn't contribute that much. Didn't really have that much of a connection with any of the Straw Hats. Nobody except Luffy and Sanji, because of the whole simp thing, should care about Yamato whatsoever. And even Luffy should only care that, I guess, you knew Ace. Like, that's about it. That's the extent of it. And that's another complaint I had about Yamato a lot, is Yamato's backstory, with the exception of being the child of Kaido, just retreads Tama's backstory. Yamato's just a less well-written Tama. Tama, we just got the same backstory previously, and it was a lot more well-written. Tama did a lot more during the raid, I feel like. Tama actually, like, connected more with more of the Straw Hats. So again, what a weird one there. What a weird one. But I actually think it's great for Yamato and for Yamato fans, for Yamato to have stayed behind, because now this is a good decision. Again, Yamato this whole time has kind of just been selfish. Kind of just been like, oh, remember your father who died? I'm him. I'm going to sail with you because I have this connection to Ace, who I met like once for like part of a day, and I don't know, I feel like maybe if we got more Yamato and Ace stuff, and like almost if there was like a romance there or something, and it's like the tragedy of being so deeply connected to Ace, and then Ace never coming back and being trapped on Onigashima. It's like that's a really sad backstory that they could have ran with. Or if we got more into like Were the guys in the cave turned into the numbers? That was left very vague, because why did Fuga like and help Yamato that much? That was left really vague. We never really got proper closure on any of that. I guess basically what I'm trying to say is, like, I'm really glad Yamato stayed behind, because it's a selfless action. It's Yamato saying, okay, look, Wano needs me, I'm going to take care of Wano while I need to, and then I can go out to sea and maybe meet back up with you. So I think it's good for Yamato and Yamato fans, because this is like a selfless action. This is Yamato doing something good for people that the Straw Hats cared about. That builds goodwill there, and then Yamato always has the potential in a couple arcs to just show back up, like, at some point, and be like, okay, now I'm here. Momonosuke told me to come on and join you guys. Like, it's as easy as that. So really, I think this is the best case scenario. This is not an L for Yamato. I don't think this is an L for Yamato at all. I think if Yamato joined the Straw Hats right away, I would be like, that is the weakest introduction for a character being there. And this is, again, I feel like talking about weakest and stuff. I don't talk about power scaling too much here, but what I did want to say is something I wanted to say in the intro, kind of. This video is going to be discussing more of the story and the characters. That's what I care about in One Piece. I care about the story and the characters, and power scaling is a little bit of a part of that. But I have said before that like 95% of the One Piece fandom is completely illiterate. You can't read. You have pictures there. It's a manga. You have pictures to help you, and you still can't read. Why are you so illiterate? It's similar to what I've said before about anime fans, where I feel like a lot of anime fans these days don't like anime whatsoever. They don't like the common tropes within it. They don't like the majority of it. They only like just the main popular things because they are popular things now. But if they were not popular, they would be the same people that were making fun of people for liking anime. And I think this is somewhat with the One Piece fandom. There are people who do not care about the story. They don't care about One Piece. They don't care about the characters. They don't care about the story. They don't care about One Piece, actually One Piece. They care about power scaling. They care about, is this person Yonko commander level? How strong are the admirals? That's what they care about. They don't care about the story. They don't care about the characters. So I feel like a lot of people like that are like, ooh, Yamato hit thing with club hard. That mean good. And don't really care about the character writing itself. And also there's a lot of people who just want likes on social media, that are just going to regurgitate, oh, peak fiction, everything, whatever gets me likes. But don't actually care about One Piece. And I think that's the reason. It's not like actual literal illiteracy. It's more people just not caring about the story or the actual writing in One Piece. They just want to be part of something that's big and popular, and, you know, a lot of times for the wrong reasons. But yeah, I guess that's where we leave off with Yamato. I guess I'll talk about Kaido a bit. There's more End of Wano stuff. There's just so much to talk about. And I still need to have a big discussion on Carrot fans. Thank you for sticking in there if you're a Carrot fan. So yeah, Kaido, I thought, was a massive disappointment. I mean, if you compare Kaido as a villain to, like, Doflamingo or Crocodile, are you kidding me? To Arlong or Enel? Like, Kaido's a joke. Kaido's a complete joke of a character. We had Kaido 1, who was like, I just want to die. We had Kaido 2, who was like the emotional drunk. We had Kaido 3, who was like this badass Terminator Yonko. And then they kind of get muddled here and there, but generally, like, the traits of one are not present in the other two, and they're just like three different characters, and it's like, which Kaido is Kaido going to be this chapter? Because he doesn't have a specific set character, because his stuff with wanting to take over Wano, make it into a weapons factory, whatever, or his stuff about wanting to find Joy Boy or whatever, or just wanting to die or die a good death in battle, like, so many of these things don't coincide with each other. If he wanted to do this Wano stuff, why would he be trying to jump off the Sky Island when we're first introduced? Like, so much of Kaido's character is just all over the place. It's not consistent. He doesn't have some grand vision or plan that makes sense because his motives and the actions he takes surrounding those motives are just all over the place and often just not connected. So yeah, Kaido's just kind of a mess. I mean, fight-wise, it was what it was. It was just an ordinary Luffy fight. It was just a regular-ass fight, and that's another thing people complain about with Gear 5 and everything, that, like, it still just ended up being a regular-ass Luffy fight. More End of Wano stuff that I thought was not good that I needed to bring up. Greenbull showing up and then getting scared off by Shanks's Haki because they need to promote a movie, basically, is extremely underwhelming for both Greenbull and for Shanks. And I'm saying Greenbull because I'll be honest, ever since he was first mentioned, Ryokugyu is really hard to say for me. So I'm just sticking with Greenbull. It's really difficult to say for me. I'm sorry. But it makes him look like kind of a joke because that's like, wow, that's a underwhelming entrance. That's an underwhelming way to show up in the story. And then you've got like Shanks, who it's like, whoa, Shanks is back in the manga, and then he just dips, and it's just because of the movie tie-in. It's like, wow, that's an extremely underwhelming way to show off Shanks. Like, I don't know, man. There's just so much that's like so rough in the End of Wano. And it's like, I'm on the Oda copium train where I'm just like, Oda wrote One Piece from the beginning up through the end of Whole Cake, and I'm just like, how can the same person be flopping with Wano this hard? There were so many things, especially the carrot stuff that I'll get to, that were such easy layups that he just completely failed on. I don't get it. So yeah, let's talk about Carrot and new Straw Hat stuff. Let's have a big discussion on that. I could go another 20 minutes, maybe another hour if I wasn't trying to keep this a reasonable size, just on that. I feel like once Momonosuke became Big Momonosuke, I was like, okay, he's not joining at that point, because that kind of ruined the whole him and Tama being like sort of the next Shanks and Buggy kind of reference was kind of out the window at that point. Plus, here's the thing with the difference between Carrot and Momonosuke's character. Carrot was not built up this entire time to become ruler of Zou. That makes no damn sense whatsoever. But Momonosuke was built up this entire time. Ever since he was first introduced, there were two things that his character arc was all about, that every big Momonosuke moment was all about. One, overcoming his fear, and two, becoming a leader. Those were the two big important things with Momonosuke's character. All of his big moments surrounded those two things. Overcoming his fear, especially his fear of Kaido, his fear of heights, and becoming a leader, becoming somebody who could be a true shogun of Wano, like what Odin couldn't be. Because he was Odin, he was a different person, and Momonosuke saying, I'm not my father and everything. And then at the end, I'll surpass Odin and everything. That's what his character was about. His character was built up to take over the mantle of Shogun of Wano, and that's why Carrot becoming Queen of Zou is like so insulting to Momonosuke's character too. It's like, not only is it horrible for Carrot and just makes no damn sense, and I think is probably, it's got to be Oda's worst writing. That's why I feel like in the next few chapters I have to be proven wrong about the Carrot stuff, because like, it's so bad. It's so awful. It is beyond incompetent bad. It insults Momonosuke's whole entire journey to get here. But the thing with Carrot's been around for forever. Carrot already fit perfectly within the Straw Hats, was a lookout. We got I will say her flashback and stuff, and the Pedro stuff. I think Pedro is an incredible character. He did more for the Straw Hats, more for the Straw Hats than anyone except for Kuma, in my opinion. Arguably Rayleigh as well, but more than anyone except Kuma. He's done for the Straw Hats. He died so that they could live. I think that was a really good way to do sort of like a sad backstory in real time. I think, Jinbei's was also like kind of not as connected to him as it was connected to the Fishman Island arc, so that one was a little weaker too when Jinbei ended up becoming a Straw Hat. So it's like, that's fine. I just think that all the stuff we saw, Carrot being lookout throughout the end of Whole Cake, throughout the journey into Wano, she was basically just already functioning as a Straw Hat. They already counted her among the Straw Hats, the Big Mom Pirates did during that arc. She had interactions with the Straw Hats that were like sort of deep and important. Like all of that just made it seem like she's basically already part of the crew, which is why I need to be proven wrong here. It's not about Carrot even going to like be the Queen of Zou, which makes absolutely no sense. It makes the Minks look like as big of idiots as the world government, where it's like, why would you make Carrot the Queen of Zou? It makes no sense. And also there's the fact that the Minks even said, hey, Shishilian, you need to lead the Minks now during the raid. Carrot, you need to go with the Straw Hats. There's just so much, it just doesn't make sense. But to me at this point, why I need to be proven wrong, it makes the Minks look terrible for putting this on Carrot. And Carrot doesn't want this. Carrot doesn't want to be King of Zou. It makes no sense. But also, this makes the Straw Hats look like assholes. They said a goodbye to Yamato, Kinemon, and Momonosuke. You know, deserved. But no goodbye scene for Carrot, who again, throughout like, you know, even Wano was always with the Straw Hats and stuff, like was basically treated as a Straw Hat up until the raid, essentially. To have no goodbye whatsoever, it makes the Straw Hats seem like absolute assholes. It's like they just left without saying goodbye to Carrot, who did all of this for them, who did the Sulong thing, taking down the fleet for them. It's so weird. It's so strange. And that's why I'm not on Carrot Copium, I'm on Oda Copium, because I can't believe Oda would be this bad of a writer. Now I guess I'll talk about some like Carrot for Straw Hat stuff. And here's the thing, Carrot's character didn't have to end in becoming a Straw Hat, but it makes no damn sense to become King of Zou. That's not following Pedro's will. It's following Perospera's will. The will of Perospera says go touch grass. And that's basically the Minks just being like, hey Carrot, go touch grass. It's just so bad. There's no way Oda's that bad of a writer. There's no way. I refuse to believe he's so bad that it would make sense for Carrot to be Queen of Zou, or that the Straw Hats would just leave without saying goodbye after all that Carrot was there for. It just doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I already mentioned the stuff with Carrot already essentially being a Straw Hat throughout Whole Cake and early Wano. And here's the thing. Even throughout all of Wano, I went back and I looked at like some of the, like, you know, the beginnings of the volumes where like we have all the main characters listed and stuff. And in all of those, even through Wano, Carrot is listed. It's like the Straw Hats, the 9 Scabbards, and Momonosuke. And then like they'll have like Law, Shinobu, and Carrot. And it's like Carrot is still listed like right beside the Straw Hats and Scabbards as like the main characters, not with the rest of the Minks. It's so odd. It's so weird. Like, not for like every single volume towards the end where things shifted for some weird reason. But before that, yeah. And here's the thing that I always argue too, is that, you know, Wano was about the Wano arc characters. Maybe it just wasn't Carrot's arc, because at the same time, Carrot didn't do any less than Usopp. I love Usopp, but Usopp didn't do shit in Wano. He did nothing. Usopp did not contribute. Usopp's coming home with a 500 million bounty, coming home with all the rings without like doing anything but sit on the bench. Like, Usopp didn't do anything. He did nothing this arc. And even Carrot during mainland Wano, we had multiple times where we cut to Carrot's perspective and we're getting like lore drops or information drops, and we're having Carrot think about it, and we're seeing from Carrot's perspective. And it's like, I don't even feel like we were seeing from Usopp or Frankie's perspective, but we're seeing from Carrot's perspective. So it's so odd. To have her lose to Perospera, I think is perfectly fine. I think it at this point it would have been better if she would have won maybe. But I don't think her losing is bad, because remember, Perospera was like really strong as a bounty of like what, 700 some, 800 some mil. And here's the thing, we already have confirmation that Carrot's stronger than like over half the crew, but this is another one thing to bring up when it comes to the Carrot for Straw Hat thing. You can not like Carrot. You can think her personality is annoying. You can just not like her design. There's a ton of very justifiable reasons to not like Carrot. And the whole Carrot hate thing seems like a really Western thing, because I can read a bit of Japanese and it's refreshing to go on like Japanese One Piece tags and stuff and just read sometimes. And like the whole Carrot thing just seems to be the Carrot hate thing just seems to be a Western thing. But you can hate Carrot without, like, lying to get your point there. Like saying Carrot was never important. There was an entire volume named after something she did, with her as, like, the main focus on the cover. Like, you know, it's like most other random characters don't really get that. Again, she basically acted as a Straw Hat for an entire large arc. Like, I don't know. You don't have to lie. And one of the biggest lies I keep saying is she's too weak, or that she would mess up the dynamic of the weakling trio. And it's like, or again, there are pictures there to help you out. I don't know why you're so illiterate when there are literally pictures to help you out. But Carrot was shown to be a whole hell of a lot stronger than Nami and Chopper during Whole Cake. And there's the fact that Chopper and Brook got insta-no-diffed by Parasparrow, who said that Carrot would have won if her Sulong didn't run out. So again, that would again put her above Brook if we're counting in Sulong. But even without Sulong, we had the stuff in the woods where Carrot could see Randolph coming and was like protecting Nami and Chopper, where they were just like completely lost, like didn't even know attacks were coming. And the fact that Chopper had to go Monster Point in order to take down the Nobody Croc, but Carrot was taking down Randolph and Brule and one-shotting Diesel, who we had just seen taking down an entire country's army for Big Mom. So it's like Carrot's one-shotting people who took down an entire country's army. It's like we saw right there, canonically, her being much stronger than Chopper and Nami, and her also being stronger than Brook later on. And it's like, I would definitely argue that makes her stronger than Usopp. I would definitely argue that makes her stronger than Frankie, because TBH, again, I love Frankie, but Nami has bigger offensive attack power feats to me than Frankie does. So if we're getting into power scaling, Robin's arguable. We don't, like, no, Robin should be OP. Like, with her devil fruit and everything, she should be so overpowered, but it's like, Oda has to find a way to try to balance that, so we don't really know exactly how strong Robin is. That one's hard to quantify, so that one's hard to argue, but everyone except for Jinbei and the Monster Trio, Carrot's already stronger than them. We've seen this canonically. There's like not even a point in arguing that. We've seen that she is stronger than them. So again, that's like, why do you have to lie to support your point if your point is worth supporting? So, I don't know. The power scaling thing's messed up. But again, just all the Carrot stuff, I think it would make perfectly sense for her to not be a Straw Hat if she did what Yamato was lying about doing and being like, I'm just gonna journey around Wano for a bit and set sail on my own, what Yamato's like excuse to Momonosuke was. I think that would have made sense for Carrot to carry on Pedro's will, to carry on his will. If she started a new Nox pirate, which was what a lot of people were predicting, I think that would have made a lot of sense. But the fact that she didn't do any of that, the last scene we saw of her was her being given a role that she was saying she did not want, and her looking upset about it. That's like, Yamato got a happy ending staying on Wano and then being able to later on maybe join the crew. Carrot did not get a happy ending. Carrot's stuck on Zoe chewing grass. I feel like there's no way we get that ending, and on top of getting that ending, we don't get a goodbye. Like, not a goodbye for Carrot, who, again, in my opinion, was closer to most of the Straw Hats than Vivi, who is an actual honorary Straw Hat. I think she was around longer than Vivi, chapter-wise, maybe? I don't know. I feel like she definitely did more than Vivi. So again, it's one of those things where, again, she didn't need to join the Straw Hats, but it makes no sense to make her the ruler of Zoe. It makes absolutely no sense to not have a goodbye scene, so that's incredibly strange. That is the most poorly written thing Oda's done. Again, there's probably a lot that I could be more in-depth about if I had notes and prepared ahead of time. This is just stuff from my heart. And there's probably a lot that I'm really unorganized on, so if there's anything more you want to talk about, let me know. I'd love to talk about more, unless the next couple chapters really just beat me down. Let's talk about 1058 and 1059, because that's kind of what brought me back. I was just kind of vaguely following One Piece after I stopped after the Nika reveal, because I'm like, oh, this shit's awful. So I was just kind of like barely following One Piece after that. I was like, oh, I'll catch the chapter whenever. I don't have to do it as soon as it comes out. But then 1058 was good. 1058 was a good chapter, and 1059 even better. I love 1059. I know some people are not into the serif thing because they're like, well, can't this just be the ending of Naruto where they're going to make seraphim copies of everyone, and that's going to be the ending. I understand. I understand your worry, but I didn't dislike it. I like the idea of it. We're definitely going to be getting a ton more with the SSG and the Pacifista program and stuff, so we'll see where it goes. I love the idea, especially remember Judge said back in Whole Cake it takes 5 years to grow a clone, so imagine if we get, I don't know, maybe this is just the simp in me talking. Hancock's an attractive character. Never been one of my top waifus in One Piece or anything, but Hancock's attractive. Imagine dark skin, light hair Hancock. Oh my god. Oh my god. Like, if we get adult Lunarian Hancock, oh my god. That's gonna be something. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't mind it. I thought that was great. The stuff with Rocky Port being mentioned and all the lore drop, like Wang Ji stuff. We got like we got the Blackbeard and Kobe stuff. I'm so interested in that. Also, another thing worth mentioning, that Luffy, when it comes to the Carrot for Straw Hat stuff, that Luffy only mentions the names of people in 5 basic categories, and there are only 2 exceptions to that. And those 5 basic categories are family. He calls Ace and Sabo by their names. Yonko / Rayleigh. He calls Rayleigh by his name, but that might be because it's a respectful thing for great pirates, or it could be because he considers Rayleigh almost like family. But he always calls the Yonko by name. Like, he doesn't do nicknames for, like, Big Mom or Kaido or whatever. And I guess that's just respect out of them being Yonko, them being great pirates or whatever. The Straw Hats, big obvious one there. The princess characters, like, eventually, even if he calls them by another nickname or whatever, he'll eventually use, like, Rebecca or Shirahoshi or Vivi or Yamato, Kinemon, and Momonosuke, as it would seem, is the trifecta princess character here. And lastly, the arc villains once before their defeat. I think in East Blue, he might not have done this for, like, Kuro or Don Krieg, but all of the, like, major villains, he always has, like, these names for them or whatever, these joke names, but then at least once before their defeat, he'll say Doflamingo instead of Dofi, Who's Arlong, he'll use Crocodile's actual name, he'll use Enel or Moria's actual name, he'll use their name, like, at least once before he defeats them, even though he has nicknames for them. So those are kind of the 5 categories of people that Luffy calls by their actual name, and the only 2 exceptions to that are Carrot and Bellamy. Carrot and Bellamy are the only 2 that he says they're my friends and calls them by their name. This doesn't necessarily mean Carrot and Bellamy for Straw Hat. I think it would actually be solidly written if they were. But, you know, like, I don't know, it's weird that Carrot was always called by her actual name, when it seems like Carrot's a character that a nickname could be very easy for. Yeah, I don't know. Weird stuff. But now, here's your chance to dip out. If you aren't interested in stuff for Chapter 1060, I'm going to talk about stuff from Chapter 1060 now. It'll probably be out by the time you're seeing this video, because I'm not posting it, like, immediately. Yeah, just wanted to let you know if you hadn't read it yet. So as I mentioned before, chapters 1058 and 1059 I thought were really, really, really good, and brought me back into wanting to talk about One Piece again, and being like, Wano Piece sucked, but maybe One Piece is back, baby. Maybe One Piece is back. Maybe the anomaly that is Wano's crap writing is done for. And I don't like 1060. A lot of people are, again, you know, the like brain dead, whoa, peak fiction, when it's clearly not. You can like 1060. Again, here's the thing. Opinions may vary. I didn't like it that much. I didn't think it was terrible or anything. I'm like, oh, terrible writing. It wasn't. But I'm not a big fan. I think the 2 big things, or the 3 big things, first, Luffy revealing his dream. It gets off-screened again, but now the Straw Hats know about it. If Carrot's stowing away, she knows about it, I guess. Caribou kind of maybe could have heard it. A lot of people like maybe Carrot's within Caribou. People being surprised about the Caribou thing. I was going to be surprised if they actually left him, because I'd be like, wow, did Oda just forget about that plot point? But no, Luffy told him, he said, I promise I'll take you with me, so it makes total sense that Caribou's there. then the second big thing, yeah, Luffy's dream, it's like we didn't hear again. I would say that, you know, that's like, well, then Carrot's definitely not going to be a Straw Hat. No more Straw Hats at all because they don't know Luffy's dream. But actually, at least like when I read the spoilers, I was like, that's what that's going to mean. But then I read the actual chapter, and I'm like, okay, there's actually, you know, maybe not. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe there is room for more Straw Hats because Vivi wasn't there to learn about it. So yeah, it's like Vivi doesn't know. It might be fine. And again, for all we know, Carrot's just there. For all we know. Again, I'm holding out hope still, just because, like, again, the Carrot stuff was the ending for Carrot's character in Wano was so poorly written that I just don't want to believe that Oda can be that bad. I really don't. Even the other bad stuff in Wano was stuff that, again, I could say, okay, like, Izo and Ashuradoji, we didn't spend that much time with them. They weren't that important. Or, like, stuff where I'm like, the Devil Fruit stuff, maybe it's going somewhere. I could say it's bad now, but I could totally be proven wrong, because maybe Oda has some grand scheme, and it's like, I could keep out hope for that. So it's like, but the Carrot stuff is just bad. Unless I'm proven wrong, like, very soon, unless Carrot did stow away, it's just bad, because it makes the Minks look terrible. It's not good writing. It makes no sense for Carrot, and it makes the Straw Hats look terrible. I'm like, these jackasses, they just left without saying goodbye. Like, I don't know. It makes the Straw Hats look bad, and I don't like it because of that, because of course they're our main characters. I love the Straw Hats. I don't want them to look shitty because of their treatment of Carrot, because of bad writing. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But where was I at? So yeah, I was talking about the Caribou stuff. Carrot might have stowed away, and then we get the stuff with Sabo and the Revolutionaries, who, again, here's one of those things, like I mentioned before, about you can like or dislike things without having to lie about it. I don't really care about Sabo or the Revolutionaries very much, and I never have. But that's just me. That's just what I don't care about. Like, there's nothing wrong with them. There's not like they're poorly written or anything. I just don't care. And you could say the same thing about Carrot. You could just be like, you don't have to lie and be like, oh, she messes up the dynamic of the weakling trio. You can just be like, I don't like her. You could just be like, screw the rabbit me. Get her out of here. I don't like her. And, like, that's totally fair. That's my point. My point is, like, you're allowed to just not like things. But what I don't like about this scene is that if I was like, Sabo can't be dead. Sabo can't be dead. This would be such a weird death. Hey, if Sabo is dead and we had the time we thought he died due to celestial dragons, but he was actually alive, and now we have this time where he actually does die to celestial dragons, it'd be like, you know what? Actually, and it's surprising because you're not expecting Sabo to just die like that. I would be like, actually, I don't hate it, but I don't think he's dead. I think somehow he survived. Somehow all the people in Lucia or whatever probably survived. Who knows how? Who knows why? They probably did, though. But that just makes Eam and the world government look even more impotent if they didn't die. But at the same time, I feel like Oda wouldn't kill them, because we've seen Oda not actually killing characters off and faking out their deaths time and time and time and time and time again. So now when a character potentially dies, I'm just like, they didn't die. they didn't die. So, I don't know, I feel like Sabo didn't die, but at the same time, I'm like, if Sabo didn't die, it just makes Eam look impotent. That's what the Eam stands for, impotent. Completely powerless. So what this was, I'm thinking, you know, it makes sense for it to be Uranus. I think it would actually be interesting. The only one we know is a person. So my two theories here for what Uranus is either a big weapon, you know, makes sense here, or an airship. And my reasoning behind these things is, we know that the one that's a person is Neptune, right? Or Poseidon? Neptune? Poseidon? I forget which one it is for the ancient weapon and which one is the king. It's King Neptune, weapon Poseidon, right? Either way, though, we know it's a person. They can control Sea Kings. We also had Noah, which was a ship that would be pulled around by Sea Kings underwater that was taken to Fishman Island or whatever. So we have like an underwater ship that could be controlled by a person who controls Sea Kings. Then we have Pluton, which we know is a warship capable of destroying islands. And like Frankie had blueprints and everything, so we know Pluton is like a ship, like, you know, it's like land, air, and sea, except like the sea is under the sea and the land is not actually like land, because there's not really all that much of that in One Piece. It's like surface level, below the surface, and sky. And I think maybe like the Ars Maxim that Enel had is like just a glimpse, a hint at what the Uranus is, that it's maybe just a giant ass airship. So yeah, I think that Uranus could be an airship. It could just be some like orbital laser weapon, because then we would have a person, Neptune, a ship, Pluton, and a weapon, Uranus. So those are my two guesses. My guesses are either it's an airship, because then it's like underwater, on the surface level, and in the sky, and then we could end up having like coated Sunny and the Straw Hats fighting underwater, and then fighting on the surface, fighting in the sky, with like another like knock upstream wings and Kuda burst or something. We'd have them fighting land, air, and sea. Or maybe it's supposed to be a person, a ship, and a weapon, so then when they're all together, you have the person, ship, and weapon, and you can have them all at once, potentially. So yeah, that's my predictions surrounding Uranus. And then the last thing we get to, we have a 3-day time skip, and we run into Jewelry Bonnie. You would think this like disables the whole Carrot stowed away thing. I don't think it necessarily does, but even if Carrot did stow away, I still think we need some explanations here. Because again, it still looks really bad on the Straw Hats to me. We need an explanation that Neko, Mamushi, and Ino Adachi were just kidding. Because if not, it makes them look like complete idiots. We need an explanation that the Straw Hats couldn't find Carrot or something. They're like, well, I guess she didn't want to say a goodbye. Because if not, it makes the Straw Hats seem like jerks. We need an explanation, even if she did stow away. But if she didn't stow away, God, that's just awful writing. Or maybe she set sail on her own and is trying to catch up, but like, how could she do that, you know? I really need Oda to prove me wrong on this one. Because this is looking bad. This Carrot stuff is just looking bad on Oda. And then running in to Bonnie is interesting. Because Bonnie was at the reverie, so it's like, how the heck did she get on the other side of Wano? That should be so far away, shouldn't it? That should be extremely far away. How did she get here? Unless she got Kuma'd away. Maybe all the theories for years and years and years were right, and Vivi did eat Kuma's fruit and she's just Kuma'ing people away. Maybe she just Kuma'd Bonnie away to here. Because to me, at first when I read the spoilers, I was like, oh, well, Vivi's obviously got to be with Bonnie, because all I knew was the Straw Hats find Bonnie. I'm like, oh, Vivi's got to be with her. That's how we're connecting back with Vivi. Okay, makes sense. But nope, Vivi's not with her apparently. Vivi's still missing. Not with her though. Interesting. Also, I just remembered, Sabo could have just not actually been on Leloucia, and he got this innocent place nuked, but he's perfectly fine because he was somewhere else. That's a possibility. Also, it makes me think, if the world government has this power, they could have just used it more often if they wanted to. What was the point of the Buster Call on Ohara if they could have just used this? Unless this is something kind of new, kind of recent. Yeah, it just seems like this could have been used more often. Or maybe there's like really strict requirements to it being used. That could make sense. So, you know, maybe I could be proven wrong there. I shouldn't get ahead of myself with criticisms of things that could be explained well later. But yeah, I no longer think that she's there to just provide a connection to Vivi, because reading the actual chapter, Bonnie shows up right after they're like, well, we don't know where the last road poneglyph is, wink, wink. Bonnie just so happens to have spent time around Blackbeard, spent time around Akainu, been in Mariwa, all of this stuff, so it's like, okay. She's the next Law, basically. Bonnie is doing the Law thing, where she's going to tag along for a bit. She has a connection to Kuma, connection to Whitebeard, apparently. She has so many connections going on that it's like, Bonnie's got to have some good information. She's going to lead us into whatever the next arc is, and that absolutely just makes sense. So yeah, I think it absolutely makes sense that, okay, Straw Hats, Bonnie now. Bonnie is just the like next law for now. It also makes sense because Bonnie and Arouge are the only two members of the Supernovas that we haven't really gotten more with. So yeah, it makes sense to get more with her and more with Arouge wherever we go next, hopefully. Or maybe another arc down the line will be Arouge time. But yeah, that takes us to the end of 1060. I'm hoping Carrot stows away. I'm hoping I was wrong. A lot of people are bringing up that Oda said that Bonnie's least favorite food is carrots, which is one hell of a connection, one hell of a weird coincidence there. But again, even if she did stow away, I was going to say I need it to make a lot more sense that the Straw Hats didn't just leave without saying goodbye. But honestly, I think I answered myself just this video where I was like, maybe they couldn't find her because she stowed away. In which case, you know what? That would make sense. Because I always figured Carrot joining at the end of Wano, if she did join, if she didn't just go off and start a new Nox Pirates, I always figured if she did join, it would be probably similar to Usopp's joining, where Luffy's just like, we're already friends, aren't we? Because I feel like after the stuff with Whole Cake, we didn't really need a huge ordeal for Carrot to join. Luffy could just be like, we're already friends. Get on the damn ship already. Come on, Rabbit. That's what I was like. Everybody else, oh, the chapter's so high. Me, where's the damn rabbit? Man. So we could get that. I still don't think we're done jumping around a bit. Like, I still think we have more stuff to see before we get, like, fully into the next arc. Because the past two chapters were heavily... They featured other stuff, but they were really about the former warlords. And the only former warlords we didn't see anything about are, Weevil, Dofi, and Moria. So I feel like within the next chapter or two, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more Weevil, or like we got an update on Weevil or Dofi or Moria. We could also... I think we could really stand to see some stuff with the Grand Fleet, because I don't think we've seen the Grand Fleet enough. If they're supposed to be like important to the Straw Hats and all, I feel like we need to check in with them. I would very much like that. But yeah, who knows where we're even going next, because people brought up, if you go by like the map that they brought up or whatever after Wano, you're either going to be going, they said like Straw Hats to Sphinx, the Kid Pirates to Hachinosu, and the Law Pirates to, or the Heart Pirates rather, to Elbaf. Like that's where they should be going according to that map, but we don't know. Maybe there's more islands in between. For me, my predictions, I'm going to get into what my old predictions were that I would say time and time again. For me, the moon stuff is a big maybe. Maybe Raftel's on the moon. Maybe we get to the X that marks the spot with the road poneglyphs. There's a giant knock-up stream that knocks you to the moon. Maybe Laugh-Tale is the moon. I don't know. The moon is very important, though, so I feel like there's a good chance we have something there. But I think what we need to see... and I also think we're probably going to stop at Lodestar at some point, just because it's the official end of the Grand Line. And you got to see the Straw Hats hitting the official end of the Grand Line. Or like the known end, you know? You got to see, even if it's just like a quick stop like Logetown or Jaya was, only a couple chapters, I think got to see Lodestar. But I think we need to see Elbaf. Elbaf has just been brought up way too much. Way too much for us to not see. We've got to see Hachinosu, because I don't really think we need to see Sphinx. Maybe we could stop there a little bit. We definitely need to see Hachinosu. We definitely need to go there. Because again, headquarters of the Rocks Pirates, headquarters now of the Blackbeard Pirates. It's has something to do with the Rocky Port incident. It's extremely important. It's the Pirate Island, which was mentioned as far back as the Davy Back fight with Foxy's group. It's just so important that we need to see Hachinosu as an arc. We need to see Elbaf because it's just been mentioned too much. And I would argue we need to probably see Vegapunk's Island, because the SSG are so important right now. We know that Smoker took the Punk Hazard kids to Vegapunk's Island. So that's, I guess, the 3 final arcs before Raftail. We might stop at Lodestar as like a mini thing. We might stop at Sphinx as like a mini thing. But I think the 3 big arcs we need to see before Laugh Tale in the end, and they don't have to be like Wano length or anything, they could be like Zoe or Whole Cake length, which wasn't as long. I think we need a Hachinosu arc, we need an Elbaf arc, and we probably need a Vegapunk's Island arc. Those are the 3 big ones to me. Maybe Moon stuff, who knows, maybe that's the end game, who knows. But yeah, to me, I think those are the 3 big things we need to see. But yeah, I guess that's it. I just wanted to talk about One Piece just from my heart to you all, the good and the bad. Criticized Wano a lot, talked about hopes for the future, because as much as One Piece's standard right now to me has been really, really low, I'm just hoping that I can be proven wrong and it can be better. And I definitely just wanted to talk about the carrot stuff, because carrot stowing away is the easiest way to solve the carrot problem right now. But like, there's so many people who's like, yay, haha, Carrot didn't join. Why are you cheering for bad writing? Even if you don't like Carrot, don't cheer for bad writing. There are characters that I don't like, but I'm not going to cheer for them being written poorly. I think Yamato staying was really, really good. Again, I mentioned why I wasn't a huge fan of Yamato, but I've always wanted to like Yamato. And I think this is a good thing for Yamato's character, staying behind for now and maybe showing up later at some point. Even if not as like an actual Straw Hat. I just think that that's good for the character. But Carrot, again, Carrot doesn't have to be a Straw Hat. Carrot could start a new Nox Pirates. Carrot could do a bunch of other things, but the Queen of Zoe thing makes no sense. Not the way it's presented, not the way it was built up to. It makes no sense. So that needs to be fixed. We need to figure out something about the minks that make them not look like complete idiots. We need to figure out something about the Straw Hats that make them not look like complete jerks. We need some sort of flashback, anything. I need to be proven wrong, even if Carrot isn't a Straw Hat, which I'm like, if Carrot's stowed away, I'm pretty skeptical of it. But again, with everything people mentioned, it's still possible, I guess. People mentioned it was 3 days before they found Nekomamushi and Inuarashi when they stowed away with Whitebeard. So yeah, and that it's exactly 3 days now before they find Bonnie. Maybe that's a connection. I don't know. I'm extremely skeptical. I wasn't expecting Carrot this chapter either in 1060. For me, I was expecting the Moria, Dofi, and Weevil stuff to finish out the former Warlord stuff. And then 1061, I was like, that's the 3rd chapter. That's usually when we go into our break week. Carrot showing up then would be perfect, because there's always a cliffhanger at the break week and always a big chapter when we come back usually. So that's why, to me, I was like, oh, Carrot's not showing up this chapter. Carrot's going to show up 1061, and it's going to be like a cliffhanger thing. So I could still be proven wrong. Like when spoilers come out I'm recording this like Thursday. When spoilers come out like Monday or Tuesday is usually when they drop at this point. Like, I could totally be proven wrong, and I want to. I want to be proven wrong. I want Carrot to have stowed away, because I don't want to go the rest of One Piece being like, wow, Oda sucked. Wow, that was bad. I don't want to go thinking, wow, the Minks and Carrot's ending sucked. I don't want to go, wow, the Straw Hats were jerks for not saying goodbye. I don't want to think like that for the rest of One Piece. So I'm just hoping I'm proven wrong. But yeah, that was it. It's probably tons of stuff I didn't talk about in enough detail, or points I wanted to make that I didn't, so I'm sorry. Just talking off the top of my head. Gonna go ahead and end the video though. Thank you all for sticking through it. I know it was probably very long. Like if you did like the video, comment down there to tell me what you thought of my thoughts and all that. What are your thoughts on One Piece right now? What do you want me to talk about in the future? If you want more One Piece stuff, let me know. Also, shout out to Vagabond Kana, who just started making One Piece videos, and I've liked their videos so far. So yeah, shout out to them. I guess, yeah, like, comment, subscribe for much more on the channel. I do a ton of stuff other than One Piece, so if you're interested in that, check it out. Like I said, despite doing this for over 5 years, over half a decade, never really built much of a One Piece audience. Even though I love One Piece, even though I was really dedicated to doing videos every week for years and years, you know, sag. But again, I guess there's like so many other people making One Piece videos. I shouted out Vagabond Kana. I thought, I didn't watch much One Piece YouTubers when I was actually making videos, but now that I've stopped, I've watched some more. I thought that, Sawyer's review of 1057 was really, really good. Morge is so hit and miss to me. Like, I think Morge's videos are so entertaining to watch, but there's also the fact that he's been wrong about, like, basically everything ever. So it's like his videos are, like, so fun to watch and so well put together, but also, like, always so wrong. Like, all the prediction stuff is always just so wrong. But it's fun. I liked Gabiru D Rat's videos. He made a few. I mean, again, I didn't agree with the videos necessarily. I was like, wow, that's a Goma Goma no stretch, but I thought they were fun videos. I've honestly started to like Tekking just because he's just so genuine, and I like that. I like somebody who's just genuine. There's so many people that are just like, hey, I'm going to cover One Piece because it's popular, and I'm going to parrot the same peak fiction again, and not actually really think about the series whatsoever. But Tekking just seems so genuine. The way that he talks about One Piece is the way that I talk about Tower of God. So yeah, random talk about One Piece YouTubers here. But it's just so many One Piece YouTubers are just so not good. Like, I tried to watch one Reverie one time. I don't know if it was like the 11th or whatever. I tried to watch one of them once, and I only got a couple minutes in, and I'm like, damn, the illiteracy rates are strong. But yeah, I don't know. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that. Follow on Twitter if you want. If you want a link to the Discord server, it's free and open for anyone. Just ask and I can give you a link. And if you want to help support the channel on Patreon, it's patreon.com/Haku with the tubes, or a link will be in the description. Either way, that's it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Hey, Haku here, just jumping in at the end of the video to bring up two really quick points. I knew I would forget a bunch of things I said throughout the video, just because it was off the top of my head. There was one thing I wanted to say about Yamato that I thought was kind of important, though, so I'm just throwing it in here at the end. It's a couple hours later after recording. I was like, I forgot to say that. And also a bit of something regarding Carrot that I've seen going around that's a bit of misinformation that I want to go ahead and try to debunk really quick, just because I've seen it around a bunch and it's like seemingly totally not true. Again, maybe I could be proven wrong, but I just wanted to go ahead and debunk that. First, the thing with Yamato, though. One complaint I always had about Yamato throughout the entirety of Wano is how we spent all this time in mainland Wano building up all these characters, then they don't really do much of anything because we're giving so much screen time to Yamato. And Yamato came out of nowhere, no mentions whatsoever before Onigashima. So one of the things that I always said would have made the character so much better, would have helped the character out so much, would have been just being mentioned. Just throughout mainland Wano, mention Kaido's son a few times. Just don't have that be some random plot point that absolutely comes out of nowhere. Mention Yamato a few times. And then that would make it even better if this entire time we've been going through mainland Wano and we're like, oh wow, who's Kaido's son going to be? What are they going to be like? Are they going to be another big threat? And then to have Yamato show up to reveal that they're friendly and on the Straw Hat Alliance's side, and also reveal that even though we've been hyping up Kaido's son, that at least like physically, visually, they have a female appearance. Like, that I think would have made the character so much better and would have been less jarring just being thrown absolutely out of nowhere if we had had this build up. So we're all theorizing and guessing and predicting what we think will go on with Kaido's son, and then just have that completely reversed when we get to Onigashima. I think that would have been a way to really help Yamato's character. Now the thing about Carrot that I've seen a ton, I feel like people talk about the copium. This feels like copium. This feels like the bargaining stage of the stages of grief, where people are like, Carrot was done dirty and I just need to figure out any way possible that I can explain this. But I keep seeing people say, oh, there was this horrible, perverted, not safe for work editor that soured Oda on Carrot and was trying to push Carrot so hard, and once he got fired for being just horribly lewd and lascivious, that Oda didn't want to do anything with Carrot anymore. And that seems to be mostly made up. That seems to be mostly made up by Westerners just theorizing and basically writing fanfics about the guy on like forums and stuff. But basically what happened, I went on a deep dive, because again, I could be proven wrong about this. I went on a deep dive. I was like, I want to see how much of this is true. I want to see what we know. And the only sources I could find, and there were plenty of sources actually that I could find, that talked about sort of the two different instances that went on, like pertaining to this situation. All of them pretty much told the same story, so I can assume that that story is true and not all the random stuff that I can't find any source for whatsoever, except, yeah, I'm just guessing that's what happened, because so the first incident that people have been bringing up, what happened was that he made a remark about, like, I wonder what would happen if I or someone had children with Carrot, what would happen there? And that's a weird thing to say. And then another editor stopped him and sort of cut off the conversation, and he was like, well, I think we could have conversations like this. I think we can be open to this. And that's a weird thing to say. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say you shouldn't find that to be a weird thing to say. It's weird. It's not that weird. I feel like people's sort of bar for what's weird is like Puritan level since 2019. I've said that a bunch. People like treat not safe for work as like, yes, nothing can ever be not safe for work. Boobies are evil. We need to, like, again, take the example of the Puritans. People for some reason think they had it right. They're like, we need to just be corporate office drones 100% of the time, and nothing that wouldn't be allowed in the workplace is allowed in your life. So the bar is very, very low. This is a weird thing to say. Like, it's not that extreme, but it is also a weird thing to say. But I've seen so many people just making, like, the stuff with him loving Carrot that much and pushing Carrot on Oda and stuff seemingly seems made up, and most of it seems to stem from this one confirmed incident, or this one confirmed instance. I don't even know if I want to call it an incident because it's not big enough to call that. It's weird, but again, it's one of those things where I feel like I don't know. I feel like, it's like, I guess what happens if a mink and a non-mink have a kid? I don't know. It's weird. It's definitely absolutely weird, but it is definitely also not as weird as what people are making it out to be. And also there's the fact that, like, people are like, what actually happened was a drop, and people are just extrapolating and writing fanfics about the guy, essentially, and just turning what was a drop of what actually happened into a bucket of, well, we can assume this happened, when it's like, no, we can't assume that from what little we actually know. We definitely cannot assume any of the things that you're saying. In the second instance, a bunch of people were saying that because of not safe for work stuff, and again, the story that I got from actual, like, that I found from actual sources, and the story that I've seen people say because of the Carrot stuff is completely, like, I don't know, it's like people take what was there and then, like, Westerners get a hold to it and want to, like, push their own agenda of maybe this is why Carrot was treated the way she was, and just throw extra things on top of it. But because I've seen things like, oh, it was underage lewds, or oh, it was lewds of Carrot, or all this stuff, or like actually shown on stream, when like none of all of that stuff is true. What is confirmed to have happened, and also they're like, oh, and he got fired from it and stuff. I also couldn't really find any actual evidence that the editor was fired. Now, there was a new editor put in that place, so like, we can assume that at the very least they were replaced. We do know that they were at least reprimanded, and an apology had to be issued for what actually happened. Now, what actually happened was on an official Shueisha stream, because this is a Shueisha editor, an editor for One Piece. On an official Shueisha stream, you could see their history on their phone, and on their history they had a not safe for work site, and not just a not safe for work site, but a piracy one, a scan site, a unofficial site. And now here's the thing: in some certain circumstances, and I feel like a lot of people, especially in the West, could be like, it's not that big a deal to like lose your job over, or to get in that much trouble over. But in this certain circumstance, Shueisha is a large Japanese company that needs to like actually protect their image because they're a large company. Okay, I get that. On top of that, this wasn't like on their off time or anything. This was an official Shueisha stream. And then also, in addition to those things, again, it's an illegal, not safe for work site, and the things that sort of pertain to this specific situation are that, in Japan they do kind of tend to take piracy and copyright infringement a bit more seriously there than here. Shueisha and One Piece is a series that both adults and kids enjoy, so people who are underage could have seen like the name of the site they had been to and been like, oh, let me go check that out myself, and like could potentially expose underage people to it. So that's not good. That's another thing to worry about, and especially doesn't look good on Shueisha as a publishing company. But even if we took the not safe for work aspect out of it, even if it wasn't like I guess like a hentai doujin site, the fact is it was still illegal and piracy, and like I said, that matters a lot more in Japan. And also, this guy works for Shueisha, a manga publishing company, so it is again a pretty bad look to have like a sort of illegal site for manga and stuff. And it's like, okay, well, that's not exactly a good look for Shueisha. It's like if the official English translator for One Piece did an official One Piece stream to promote the English translation or something, and you could see their history, and they had like TCB scans in there, and it's like, even if it's not a not safe for work thing, it's like, it's not a good look for you to be on like an official stream for the company and in a position within the company, and then people can see that you're looking at the scans, or that in the case of what actually happened with the editor, you're looking at sort of unlicensed, pirated doujins, essentially, it would seem. So yeah, again, I've seen people blow it way out of proportion and say that it was something a lot more and a lot worse than what it was, like in a moral sense, I suppose. And that just seemingly isn't true whatsoever, or if it was, I could not find any evidence of it. But what I could find evidence of, and what was pretty much agreed on by every official place that talked about this, was that, yeah, you could see the search history, and it was an illegal hentai site, and that wasn't good. That wasn't a good look for an official Shueisha stream, especially because those two, both being hentai and both being illegal, are like directly related to Shueisha and things that Shueisha wouldn't want. So again, this is a situation where something did happen with this editor, and it wasn't good, but it also doesn't seem to be related to the Carrot stuff at all. And even if it was related to Carrot stuff, it seems like a mess. Like, even if it was, people are making up a lot of extra details that weren't actually there. People are promoting a lot of misinformation about it, which isn't good. But also, there's just like the fact that even if it was related to Carrot stuff, it feels like yet another big jump to be like Oda would change his story because of that, that would influence him. Just doesn't seem reasonable, especially like a bunch of people have brought up. And again, I guess I'm just gonna keep I talked a bunch about One Piece a couple hours ago, let me just keep talking. I guess some more stuff, like I mentioned before, I look at like Japanese Carrot tags or One Piece tags in general just to see what they're saying. And I was saying before how like the extreme, random, disproportionate carrot hate. Because, like, there are some characters where the hate, I feel like, is proportionate to the character. It's like every popular character is going to get hate for some reasons. Sanji's going to get hate for people that don't like the pervy joke gag part of the character. Like, people who really want to like and promote Sanji are going to send hate to Zoro sometimes because there's that rivalry there. But the hate for Carrot just seems very disproportionate to the actual character herself. But when I look at Japanese stuff, it's mostly just people like, it was weird that Carrot and the Minx didn't get a goodbye. I wonder why Oda did that. That was very strange. Why would that happen? And also saying, like, you know, also people just showing off all their Carrot merch and stuff. And it's like, damn, they have all that Carrot merch over there. Yeah, I feel like I really lost my train of thought. Yeah, that's another thing. It's really weird. Like, all the people who are, once again, you don't need to lie to, like, make your point or whatever. All these people that were like, Carrot was never important. Carrot was never an important character or anything. Like, looking at the fact that, you know, there is a solid amount of Carrot merch. Carrot was the 8th most popular character in the popularity poll. And even though in Japan, Carrot wasn't, you know, nearly as high as 8th, Carrot was still, like, relatively pretty high in the grand scheme of One Piece characters. So again, a like pretty solidly popular character. It just feels like letting an outside influence affect how Oda would treat that character just seems very odd. And to leave that character on a cliffhanger, which is what we got with the whole, you become ruler. Carrot's like, I don't want to become ruler. And then we cut away and we never cut back and get any conclusion to that. It was a cliffhanger. We were left on a cliffhanger, which is odd. Yeah, let me think some more about some Carrot stuff that I wanted to bring up too. Because I have seen more things brought up, like Bonnie being there, and Bonnie's least favorite food is carrots, like, incidentally. That's like a really specific coincidence. And another really specific coincidence is when Nekomamushi and Inuarashi stowed away. It was 3 days before they were revealed, and here we've had a 3-day time skip. It just seems like an interesting coincidence. Again, not saying it means anything. Oda could have just said, I don't care about the character anymore, I'm scrapping them, which is, it's not good writing, it's bad writing. It is what it is, but that could be the case. I just wanted to say some things like that. And also, one thing as I've been talking that I just remembered too, I thought about that I forgot and didn't put in the stuff I recorded earlier, was talking about the issue that happened with what Hiyori said at the end of Wano that people were mad about, with the whole, the Kurizumis were born to burn thing, or Kurizumi was born to burn in the official translation. It is just a gag on the character's name, like what happened with Odin. But I agree kind of with the people pissed off. It's like, did you not learn your lesson whatsoever? And one thing that I always think with One Piece is, you got hundreds of thousands of people out there making theories, making predictions and stuff. You put all those brains together, you're gonna, like, come up with something more than the author sometime, because Oda's only one person. But, like, yeah, there were so many people like, oh, Tama could be a Kurizumi because of the hair, and it's like, oh, that'd be a good way to tie it in and be like, okay, your family doesn't define you, you're a good person, you suffered under the Kurizumis even though you were a Kurizumi yourself, and there could be a good story told there, but it wasn't. Then, like, using the play on words here, and the way that they are like, okay, we showed at the beginning of going to Wano how all the schools were like, and Orochi's this great shogun, and Odin was evil, and now here at the end we show all these schools, Odin was this amazing guy, and Orochi was evil, and they're basically doing the same exact thing, except we know they're the good guys, but they are doing the same exact thing, and it's like, they're really continuing this cycle of hatred, aren't they? And, like, you gotta remember that Kanjuro and Orochi were bad, but they were the way they were because they were legitimately persecuted against for no reason, and there was no real conclusion to that. remember the minks were like almost burned at the stake or something because they were minks, and the people of Wano, there's no conclusion to like that. People talk about like the citizens in other countries being terrible, but Wano's were like the worst. Remember how they persecuted like Kawamatsu and his mom? Like the people of Wano were just awful people, and from the play at the end with Hiyori, it's like, are the people of Wano still just horrible people? Are they still just bad people? It's like this wasn't resolved at all. And one of the funniest things, to again bring it back into Carrot, one of the funniest things I've seen is like Carrot running away, stowing away with the Straw Hats, forgetting about becoming ruler just like Odin. People were like, Carrot just shows up on the Straw Hats ship. Much like the people of Wano, I too have learned nothing from the cautionary tale of Kozuki Odin. I just think it's hilarious. Like, I feel like, yeah, the people of Wano, did we learn nothing? Did we learn nothing here? What a joke. But yeah, that's it. Sorry, I just wanted to throw this at the end. I'm not going to rehash the outro for you. Thank you for sticking through it if you have. This little one-man podcast, no notes off the top of my head. Absolute travesty of a video. Thank you for being here. And I'm going to go ahead and go record more things.